trucking, got my chips cashed in. Keep trucking, like the Doodah Man. Together, more or less in line. Just keep trucking on.
My name is Michael Benz. I'm the brewery ambassador here at the brewery. I'm learning a lot about this foundation through this project. As perfectly honest with you, I was a bit ignorant to it. We're generally in the business of, it's a feel-good business, right? We're not in the business of making $1 million. This is a project where we're trying to make the right product with the right ingredients for the right reasons, and partnering up with Wounded Warriors just makes sense. It adds to the feel-good level of the community that we're trying to build here, especially with Newburgh Brewery, where we try to do a lot of events with them, being that we share this Hudson Valley brewery, brethren with those guys, and they're great. So anytime I get to do an event or really an event or any benefit with them, we'll jump all over it. But adding the Wounded Warriors aspect to it, it makes it an absolute no-brainer and something I can hang my hat on. It's not just beer and food anymore. It's we're actually affecting people's lives a little bit for the better.
I'm Paul Haleko. I'm president of Newburgh Brewing Company, which is another local brewery just about 15-20 miles from here. Wounded Warrior Project is just such an amazing cause. It's a charity that us at Newburgh Brewing, we feel really passionate about. In fact, our logo is inspired by the Purple Heart Award. That's why our logo is a Purple Heart. We're doing a Wounded Warrior fundraiser in June ourselves, so it's definitely an organization we feel passionately about. And personally, I'm a big marathon runner, so I just thought it was such a cool idea.
My name is Noah Reeves, and I'm a veteran. I'm a three-time combat veteran in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I'm participating in the run. The Wounded Warrior, they do a lot for wounded veterans and trying to set their houses up with wheelchair ramps if they lost their legs, stuff like that. So the contribution for Wounded Warrior, it goes really far. So it's a great cause, and it's going to be a good run.
Got to mellow slow, it takes time to pick a place to go and just keep trucking on. Sitting and staring out of the hotel window, got a tip they're gonna kick the door in again. I'd like to get some sleep before I travel, but if you got a warrant, I guess you're gonna go.
What I'm really excited about is seeing this crew next year on the back end. I'm really looking forward to flip-flopping this every year and seeing what it turns into. Because the fun thing about being as young as we are in this space is that a lot of what we're doing is fresh and new. Especially with Newburgh, they're new too. And we're going to throw a lot of things to the wall, and let's see what sticks and what we can really build on, in this community.
Well, I think Pat initially came to us maybe it's about 2 months ago with just sort of the fledgling idea of what he wanted to do. And it's really remarkable that in 2 months' time he was able to put this together. This is a huge undertaking, and I think it's a testament to his hard work, how much people value the Wounded Warrior Project, that he was able to put this together, get such great support. I know Peekskill is fully on board, Newburgh Brewing's fully on board, so it's just a great event.
What a long, strange trip it's been.
So the brainchild was, Paul came up with the initial concept, and I started to play around on the website, and I was like, I'll map my run, and I said, oh man, it's 26.2 miles from Peekskill to Newburgh. So I think God sent me a message, and he said, you have to do this. You have to set up a run, a relay marathon, get a bunch of your friends together and put this together. So Paul had the concept, I threw the idea together, and my good friend Bruce kind of put the nuts and bolts together as far as the fundraising. So it was a cooperative effort among a bunch of people, and with some divine intervention, including how beautiful the day was today. So if we had to dial in a better day, I don't think it could have been any better than this.
I'll give a classic example that Pat and I rehash together almost weekly. When we went up with Bruce, who will also be up here in a few minutes talking, and another friend of ours, to do a half marathon up in the Adirondacks 2 years ago. The night before the race, after hiking a mountain, which is a pretty good size, we went out drinking all night long. And the race was like a 7 o'clock start, so we had to be up at 5 to be there to the start by 6, yada yada. And Pat was on the phone with some friend or family member. This had to be 12:30, close to 1 o'clock in the morning. And he's drinking a beer and I'm drinking a beer and I'm half whacked or 90% whacked. And all I ever recall Pat saying was, to whoever he was on the phone with, he says, "We're racing tomorrow, so we're liquoring up tonight." And sure enough, we both went out and ran very, very strong times the next day. So how often do I drink beer and run? Every week.
My role became setting up the website for donations for the Wounded Warrior Project. And how this came about, Pat and Paul decided they wanted to do this brewery run, and they asked me if I wanted to do it. I said no. They said, well, maybe we can raise a little money. I said yes. I said, how about Wounded Warrior Project? And they said that was a good idea. And Pat had some motivation also. He can talk about his motivation. So I set up the Wounded Warrior webpage. We call it We're Running For You. And my whole thing was I wanted to raise as much money as we can because we still have, I don't know how many troops in harm's way in Afghanistan. We also came up with a number, 6,731. That number represents the miles between New York City and Kabul, Afghanistan. So I wanted to raise that kind of money, and I also wanted to raise that many miles by all of our friends running, walking, kayaking, hiking, paddleboarding, whatever moves you forward, gets you outside. I want everybody to give me their miles so we can total those miles up to 6,731. Right now we've raised about $4,000 in commitments, and I think it's just a great thing.
My stepdaughter got married on January 4th, and she married a young man who did 2 tours in Iraq and a tour in Afghanistan, and we got to meet some of his friends at the wedding, and we didn't realize how powerful the afflictions were that they were coming home with and how much they were struggling to re-assimilate and get things going with their lives. And I think that wedding kind of opened our eyes. So when we were sitting around and tossing around some ideas, my brother Mike said, you know, this is obvious. We met Noah and all his friends at the wedding. You should do it for Wounded Warriors because all of these guys came home with a problem. And so I think what we're trying to call attention to is that these guys coming home, it's not about missing an arm or a leg, and they are missing arms and legs, but some of these guys are coming home not all there. You know, they're struggling with their framework, what they're thinking about when they come home, and it's a battle for them. So they're not only wounded physically, but they're wounded mentally, and it just became a great cause, and it was so obvious to us. So we had a lot of outside influence that was so obvious to us that helped us put this whole thing together.
And so everyone's seen the front of the shirt, but the most important part is the back of the shirt. And that is a beer drinker with a running problem. So how often do I drink beer and run, Brittany? Every week.